Good morning and welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you for that. And if you're checking us out online, of course, we are at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. We have audio and video versions for you to check out at those places. Again, appreciate you joining us this morning. I-12 is flowing this morning. Excuse me, I got to scoot over here a little bit. I-12 is flowing this morning, so that is a good sign. Some minor on-ramp delays there at Range Avenue, Jubin Road, and 447 and Walker, but not too bad. 64 heading into Central, some minor delays as well. So a pretty good traffic morning today. 190 is flowing, so that's always a good sign. It's currently 75 degrees. 92 degrees is your high today, so it's looking a little better. We're not having as bad of a heat wave as we have, especially several days past, where we're getting up to anywhere from 105 to 112. Heat index today might barely get up to 100, so you know that sounds bad, but it's definitely better than it was. Again, 92 your high, 76 going to be your overnight low. 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms today, so please keep that in mind, especially if you head home later on in the afternoon. Bring yourself an umbrella or a poncho. Getting into the show today, want to talk about something non-COVID related. I know we thought we were going to get away from this thing back in June, but it keeps rearing its ugly head. But one of the things we want to talk about today is we ran a story about a lady named Tiffany Seacard. She is a local mortgage originator, and that is, of course, for the home buying process. And you can learn all about her. She has started a new business called Homekey Mortgage. It is in conjunction with a Mr. Tallow out of Hammond, who works for Berkshire Hathaway. And together they're looking to get into the mortgage game from the business side, try to serve agents as best as possible. They're willing to serve Berkshire Hathaway agents, Keller Williams agents, any kind of agents out there. And they're also, of course, looking to serve any kind of clients. Miss Tiffany has 22 years experience in the mortgage game. So if you're looking for a mortgage or if you're looking for a house, always best to get in touch with a lender first, get that letter of approval so you know what you're looking at heading into searching for homes. Again, Tiffany Seacard at Homekey Mortgage, congratulations, she has opened. There will be a grand opening later once we get past COVID-19, but she is open and ready to do business with you. Also, before we get into sort of the dregs of a lot of the details of the coronavirus and what's going on right now, did want to talk about Mr. Brian Abels. Mr. Abels was a former attorney here in Denham Springs. He is now a judge in the 21st Judicial Court, Division D. Loved saying that back in the fall. A lot of you who've been watching will remember we talked about it a lot during the election. He had a very long election cycle because he had to go into a runoff. He did win, and took the bench in January. Do apologize for that little bit of lag there. Took the bench in January, had worked about 2.5 months. That'd be January, February, and part of March, and then suddenly COVID hit. And court was shut down, at least temporarily, while they tried to find a way to get around it. We got to catch up with Brian and talk to him about what it was like to do some Zoom trials, but it was more Zoom proceedings. A lot of things were changed during that time, but they did not want to go 2 full months without having court. So while April was a little slow, they did have court later in the month and did it via Zoom. Tried to keep a lot of things moving. Keeping the docket moving, and of course the judges were happy for that, and attorneys were happy that their cases were still moving, even if maybe in some cases they didn't like the result. So they did a lot of that via Zoom. They're still doing a lot of court via Zoom, especially for those who are in the Livingston Parish Detention Center or some sort of prison somewhere else. They are bringing them in via Zoom. They are also doing a lot of proceedings for child and family court via Zoom. So trying to keep that crowd down at the courthouse, trying to keep things moving, trying to keep these people safe. Of course, Brian said, or Judge Abel said, that Zoom court was very interesting. They had some rules that they put out there. People followed them. You got to be dressed well from the waist up. I am wearing pants, but I would imagine that as a judge, or as a lawyer, you might be sitting there doing Zoom and you got on the jacket and the tie and the button down, but maybe you got on a pair of shorts or something. But you had to be appropriately dressed from the waist up, or any part of you that was in front of the camera. He did say some folks did make presentations, full-on presentations using whiteboards and things of that nature. So it was very much like court. It's just everybody kind of had their turn in sort of that digital space. Zoom has been very good for businesses, politics, that sort of thing. It's kept a lot of things moving, and of course that business was poised. They were ready for something like COVID. So if you're interested in that, you can find that story at www.livingstonparishnews.com/coronavirus. Of course, that is all about doing Zoom court and trying to keep everything moving up there at the courthouse. Getting into your coronavirus today, let's talk about these mitigation efforts real quick. Wear a mask in public if at all possible. That is now a mandate. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. 6 feet of distance between yourself and others in public. Control your sneezing and a cough with your elbow or a tissue. Not a elbow. Don't go running over to somebody else and use their elbow. Use your elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face. My favorite one is I just scratched the side of my eye. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. And stay home if you're sick, and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor, and try to stay home to work if at all possible. Had somebody ask me about the touch your face thing. You know, they see me. I do wash my hands very, very heavily before I get on the show. I also get a little nervous, so I usually get a little itch on my face, so that's why I do that. So please understand that I wash my hands constantly throughout the day. Getting into your coronavirus statistics, 84,131 cases in Louisiana. 53,288 have recovered, so that is a good number. 3,351 deaths. 1,002,000 tests. So we have broke the 1 million mark. That's a good sign for Louisiana. We continue to be tops in the country for testing and testing volume, especially when you do it on a per capita basis. So we are moving forward very well with good partnerships with the federal government. 1,369 are unfortunately hospitalized on 149 ventilators. So please keep those people in your thoughts. And again, I forgot the Livingston Parish statistics. If you are looking for those, you can go to ldh.la.gov/coronavirus, and you can search by parish to go pick up those statistics. I got in a hurry this morning because we do have a lot to talk about. First and foremost, we have spoken over the last several days about the push to go back to school. It's a big, heavy push. It starts with the federal government. It comes all the way down. People, especially political officials, do want to go back to school. There are a lot of concerns that are coming from teachers. We are going to be catching up with Superintendent Joe Murphy and a lot of folks from the central office to kind of see what their thoughts are over the coming days. We will be talking about that as well. We're also going to be sitting down with those folks to do some podcasts as well as stories to try to get that information to you guys out as best we can. However, the United States or American Academy of Pediatricians has recommended that kids go back to school. That is a huge, that's just been a very big push coming from, federal officials, our Washington delegation in terms of senators and representatives. It's come big at the Louisiana legislature, especially the Department of Education. They're going to try to find a way to send these kids back to school. It's a very important part of the fabric of this society. Now, we talked yesterday quite a bit about the rules released by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. Recommend you go watch that show. We talked a lot about those rules. There's going to be a lot of interesting hurdles to navigate going into this school year. And in fact, let's cover those real quick because, we're just going to run through them real quick because they are interesting. Now, this is per House Bill 59, which has been turned into Act 9 of the legislature, authored by Livingston Parish's very own Buddy Mincy. Of course, he is a representative now, but a former member of the school board. And it covers a lot of topics. Group sizes, and this is per phase. Now, remember, the Louisiana High School Athletic Association has their own phases, and we're going to be sitting down with Rob DeArmond to talk about those today. He is our sports editor. But these are with regard to the state's phases. So in state's phase 1, you can only have group sizes of 10 or less. Phase 2, which is what we're in right now, is 25 or less. And phase 3 is 50 or less. So trying to get to that phase 3 before school starts. Groups must be separated indoors by a wall or partition, and outside they must be physically separated. One of the difficult things that's going to be around is the buses. 25% capacity in phase one, 50% capacity in phase two, and 75% capacity in phase three. So the buses are never going to be at full capacity moving forward. So we're going to have to deal with that in one way, shape, or form. Masks are going to be required for grades 3 through 12 per the Bessie guidelines, and everyone must be monitored upon arriving at school. This includes fever, COVID-like symptoms, and of course, whether or not they're wearing a mask. So that's going to be an interesting part of this as well. Hygiene: students must wash hands before and after eating and every 2 hours during the day. Now, we talked a little bit yesterday about, some of the things we're going to be discussing with the central office is some of the options parents have. Some parents don't want to send their kids back to school, but they want to remain part of the school system. I believe there's going to be some virtual options available for that. The school system did get some grants to help expand the distance learning offering that they have. They ran some tests over the summer with some virtual learning and virtual summer school. We're going to be hearing about that over the coming days. Now, there was money from the federal government that was pushed through the state to help with that. Senator Bill Cassidy has introduced some bipartisan legislation. About $1.8 million per school system is what they're trying to push through. It's going to be difficult, and we're going to talk about why in a little bit, but trying to get these school systems the supplies they need to move back into having safe schools. So we're going to see about that. Before we get into the governor and the attorney general, we're going to explain why Senator Bill Cassidy's bill might have some trouble. The federal budget deficit in June alone was $864 billion. Now, by comparison, in 2017 as a year, it was $665 billion, and in 2018, it was $779 billion. So in just 1 month, now, of course, this is all about, responding to COVID and the economy just being down because a lot of places were closed. But in just 1 month, it surpassed those 2 years by almost 100 million in 2018 and almost 200 million. 1 billion shy. Excuse me, these are billions with a B. Let me start over. $864 billion deficit in June of 2020. $779 billion deficit was the full year deficit in 2018. $665 billion was the full budget deficit for the federal government in 2017. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we'll just borrow more money. We're already close to exceeding economic capacity on debt. So that is a problem moving forward. We can't just go borrow more money. There's going to have to be some extreme measures taken to try to rein in the debt service and rein in the spending, especially since the economy is going to limp back into action. So that's going to be a problem, getting more money passed for stimulus, for reopening schools. So let's hope that those folks up there in D.C. can find a better way to get the budget back under control. Jumping back to the governor and the attorney general, Jeff Landry. Jeff Landry has been confirmed positive for coronavirus. He is quarantining. But during his quarantine, he did release an opinion that the governor's mask mandate and closing bars, both of which might be unconstitutional. Used a lot of might be, not entirely sure. The governor came back and said that not only did he have the federal backing from the task force, which we discussed yesterday, but that the attorney general had already agreed with him back in March that because we are in the midst of a public health emergency, the rule sets that he can create are expanded largely beyond what normal circumstances dictate. So it's going to be interesting to see those two go back and forth. But as of right now, the mask mandate and bar closures remain in effect. Of course, we talked yesterday about Parish President Leighton Ricks said that he wasn't happy about masks being mandated, but that he had no choice. The governor had mandated it, and until some sort of official opinion comes out, you're going to have to wear a mask in public. And of course, law enforcement has said if businesses do call about mask issues, they will respond to those calls. So those are important things to remember going forward. There will be, speaking of Parish President Leighton Ricks, there will be a new COVID-19 test site in Livingston Parish. It'll be at 20300 Government Boulevard, which is the governmental buildings in Livingston Parish. If you've never been out there, there's the assessor's office right up front, 2 governmental buildings in the courthouse. So if you go to Livingston and get off at the exit and head north, either way you get off, the governmental buildings are going to be on your left. If you take 190 into Livingston and head south on 63, the governmental buildings are going to be on your right. So please keep that in mind. It will be open starting today, July 16th, through July 19th, which is Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. You do not need a doctor's recommendation to go get that test done. Starting Monday, July 20th, Walmart is going to require that patrons in Walmarts and Sam's Club have on masks. It will be a requirement. There have been reports of some arguments breaking out at some of the local Walmarts as folks wanted to go in to buy something, but were required to wear a mask by Walmart corporate, I guess you can say. Now it will be an official requirement. It is public as of July 20th, so that would be this upcoming Monday. And another little bit of bad coronavirus news, the Louisiana Unemployment Trust Fund is looking at insolvency by September. So that's about 45 days from now. They will have to go borrow an interest-free loan from the federal government if they cannot find a way to curb the unemployment that is currently bogging down the system. Of course, right now, the state has reduced the $247 that they distribute because they met a different benchmark. But the federal government is still handing out $600 a week. That lasts through July 31st. So hoping that a lot of these people can get back to work. The Baton Rouge Area Chamber has released unemployment statistics for the capital area every week. And there's currently still about 60,000 people unemployed in the capital area. It's about a $1.2 million total, 1.2 million person total population. That's in a 9-parish area in and around Baton Rouge. So it's still a relatively high unemployment, trying to find ways to get those people back to work so that unemployment, so we do not run out of unemployment and the state will have to borrow from the federal government. So if you know of jobs, it's always great to post them on Facebook, trying to get people back to work. It is always important to remember, though, that some people may be overqualified for certain jobs and that kind of thing. Not everybody can work at specific places, so but some people might have to make difficult decisions moving forward. It's going to be a hard time, especially after that July 31st date. So we're going to see what happens then. Want to talk about the mitigation efforts one more time. Wear a mask in public, if at all. Well, wear a mask in public. It's a mandate. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds or more. 6 feet or more of distance between yourself and others in public. Control your sneezing and your cough with your elbow or a tissue. Don't touch your face, my favorite one. 25 or less to a gathering, preferably less. Stay home if you're sick and utilize telehealth to get in touch with your doctor, or stay home to work if at all possible. Again, with your coronavirus statistics, 84,131 cases, 3,351 deaths, but 53,288 have recovered, so that's a great number. Have surpassed that million test mark. We continue to be one of the leading states, especially in terms of per capita testing. Unfortunately, though, 1,369 are currently hospitalized with COVID-19 on 149 ventilators, so please keep them in mind. I-12 is flowing today. Pretty good traffic day. Minor on-ramp delays getting onto I-12 and 64 into Central, some minor delays, but 190 is flowing through Livingston Parish. It's currently 75 degrees. 92 degrees is your high today. Heat index somewhere between 98 and 100, so not as bad as it's been in the past. Still going to be hot out there, though. Please remember to drink water. There is a 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms, so if you haven't left this morning just yet, heading to work, please remember to grab either a poncho or an umbrella. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us for the Livingston Parish News Morning Show. Want to remind folks that we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month. Comes straight to your mailbox. We are also online. We've mentioned the site, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page, which is free, audio and video versions of these podcasts. Again, we're going to be sitting down with Mr. Rob DeArma today to talk about the LHSAA and the upcoming football seasons. We're also going to be talking with Superintendent Joe Murphy, as well as some other folks from the central office, as more of a plan rolls out for Livingston Parish schools. We also have a coronavirus page, which is free as well, and a breaking news page, which has federal and state level news for you to check out. We do hope you guys have a great day. Please remember to wear a mask in public. It is important. We are trying to curb the coronavirus, flatten the curve so school can roll back in phase 3, and we can get back on track as a state, as a country, and as a parish. Appreciate you again joining us. Hope you have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow morning.